If I could recommend just one exercise anyone could use to quickly and radically transform the way their body looks, feels, and functions, it would be the Sandbag Bear Hug Carry. Not only does the exercise belong up there alongside other fundamental human movements like sprinting, climbing, or crawling, it representing the strength to carry heavy things from one place to another, something humans do, but the Bear Hug Carry also has a knack for fixing things. See, unlike most exercises you might do in a typical gym setting, which allow for and often even promote imbalance, as in the case of bodybuilding for example, where a lifter might choose to prioritize isolation as a way to obtain a certain aesthetic look, leaving important muscles underdeveloped, the Bear Hug Carry will not allow imbalance or weakness of any kind at all. In fact, it demands balance. If the body isn't strong everywhere, if any weak points exist, the exercise will attack them until they become strong. In this way, the Bear Hug Carry acts as a kind of tune-up for the body, making sure everything is working the way it's supposed to, leaving you feeling right, like you could take on anything. Part of how it does that is by building lots of muscle in all the right places. Muscle is exciting, and we'll definitely get to that. But first, let's cover a few other cool things the Bear Hug Carry does, starting at the center of it all with the bones. Sandbag Bear Hug Carries improve bone density a lot. That's a big deal because, in addition to making you more resilient to injury, it also means more potential. Stronger bones means a better foundation for the muscles, which means those muscles will be able to generate more force and power, meaning more strength and explosiveness, better performance, and in turn, likely more muscle mass in the long run. Most strength training will improve bone density in some way, but there seems to be something special about heavy carries, and the Bear Hug Carry in particular. Think about the shock your body absorbs with every step as your feet strike the ground while holding 200 pounds in your hands. That force moves through the feet, then the ankles, the legs, hips, the spine and ribs, and all the way up to the shoulders and arms and to the top of the head. The entire skeleton is forced to adapt. There's a reason strongmen consistently show a higher bone mineral density than most. Constant compression through the entire body while moving with heavy weights, uneven and ever-shifting forces stimulating bone adaptation in multiple planes. Bone is living tissue that remodels itself in response to stress, and the stress caused by carrying a heavy sandbag seems to trigger that better than most things. To tell you my experience with this, the first time I ever carried an odd object, I went for a full 30 minutes straight without ever stopping. Initially, I was underwhelmed. I felt like maybe I had wasted my time. Then later that night, it hit me. The bones in my legs were on fire. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like I was in middle school again, going through a growth spurt, having intense growing pains. That was new, and keep in mind I was no stranger to heavy carries in general at that point. I had been doing farmer's walks for years, yoke walks with a barbell, Berserker carries and the like, but never once had I experienced such an obvious effect on the bones themselves. I don't think it's a coincidence that after a few months with Bear Hug carries in my program, my barbell back squat numbers shot up, and I had added a good deal of size to my legs too. Moving on, now let's cover another big one, or big two, these kind of go together, joint stability and posture. The first step to improving joint stability, and potentially to reducing pain depending on the circumstance, can be as simple as adding some strength and size to the muscles surrounding the joints. You hear about this all the time from people who fixed their knee pain by improving their back squat numbers. The Bear Hug Carry seems to do this systemically, strengthening everything all at once. Starting at the bottom with the ankles, walking with weight means every step becomes like a sort of functional calf raise. The calves themselves are very involved, as are the small muscles around the ankles and in the feet, and when all of those things are strengthened, it's likely the ankles will end up feeling very stable. Huge, as you know what they say, what's a tree without its trunk or a house without its foundation? The whole thing is multidimensional too. You take that step slightly off center and you feel that shifting side to side as your feet and ankles seek balance. The constant flexing and extending and all those little adjustments add up over time and leave you feeling confident in a way you would never get from stationary exercise. Bear Hug carries can also be very effective for strengthening the knees. It might not seem like it. I mean, it's not like you're doing any kind of real deep knee bend, a squat or anything like that, but walking is enough. With each step forward, the quads and hamstrings flex and extend the knees, the hamstrings in particular. It's not uncommon to feel them cramping up when doing the exercise, similar to what you might feel when sprinting, and muscle is built. This is important, as knee issues can sometimes come as a result of overpowered quads. We focus so much on the front side of our bodies in the gym, it's easy to neglect the back. You can't see it, but that's a big problem. Overly dominant quads can cause tendon issues. They can make it so more of the shock that comes with taking a step is absorbed by the joints themselves rather than the muscles. Too much quad in relation to the hamstrings can even change the way you walk, again, placing extra stress on the knee joints rather than where you want it. The average person is aiming for 10,000 steps per day? A small imbalance can have huge implications when the volume is so high. Of course, you might say if someone had this issue, wouldn't walking with weight be the worst thing they could do? There could be some truth to that, but in my experience at least, something about holding a heavy weight out in front of the body shifts a lot of the load onto the hamstrings, strengthening them. In the perfect program, you'd probably want to do some kind of true squat as well, and building up the quads is important too. I just wanted to use this as another example of how the bear hug carry creates balance, building a body that functions correctly. The exercise also leads to stable hips. The abductors and adductors are important here. While those muscles are responsible for moving the legs out to the sides and back again, they also work to stabilize the pelvis while walking. When you lift one leg, the abductors on the standing leg contract to keep the pelvis from dropping down towards the side of the leg that's in the air. On the other side, when you shift your weight onto one leg, when you take a step, the adductors contract to help shift the body's center of mass over the standing foot. It's a constant back and forth, and that's just walking normally. Think about the force those muscles must generate when carrying hundreds of pounds. Again, improved stability. There's also the elbows and wrists too. This one is usually unexpected by most, but just holding onto a sandbag with a bear hug grip really strengthens every part of the arms involved with flexion. Some extension of the wrist too, depending on the grip you use. The forearms and biceps will grow a lot, and I actually felt a noticeable increase in the size of my bicep tendons after working with the exercise. That can be a danger area with heavy lifting, so increasing strength there can go a long way towards injury prevention. Now let's talk a bit about posture. Bear hug carries strengthen everything needed to keep an upright stance. Starting with the glutes, I can't say enough about how important they are. If the glutes are underdeveloped, the hamstrings or lower back will likely take over as a way to compensate, which can lead to all kinds of strange posture issues like that Donald Duck look. Definitely not something you want, at least not all the time. The glutes are also responsible for extending the hips, which in a way makes them an antidote to all the sitting we do all day with our hips in a flexed position. They're also literally our seat of power. If you want any kind of real strength at all, strong glutes are a must, and bear hug carries will help with that. They're not the ultimate glute builder by any means, but they do get the job done. The exercise also strengthens the core better than possibly anything else I've ever done. Every step is a fight against the sandbag, it trying to either fold you in half in whatever direction or just drop from your arms. The bag moves throughout a set too, so the core must adapt to the sandbag being in a bunch of slightly different positions. A set of carries also usually goes on for a while, for at least half a minute or more most of the time, and there's no rest between reps like you'd get with most other exercises, so you have to get really good at keeping your core braced while breathing, which can have a profound effect on the strength and size of the abs. I tried really hard to find it, but I couldn't. It's possible it was taken down or something, but I remember there was this old T-Nation article written by an experienced coach who recommended going to the bottom of a heavy back squat and intentionally breathing while staying braced. He said it was one of the best things he ever added to his clients' training, and if core strength or ab development were ever weaknesses, the technique would fix things within a few months. I tried that back when I was lifting barbells, and it definitely improved my ability to brace when lifting heavy, but bear hug carries seem to take that idea to the next level. Constantly bracing while trying to catch your breath, added to the constant lower back engagement you get from leaning back during the carry, which is necessary to put the sandbag in line with your center once the weights get heavy enough, leads to complete core development. This is important because, in addition to keeping the spine stable and upright, again, posture improvements, the core is also the center of everything and has no solid bone to rely on for support. It's where energy goes to escape as it's transferred from the lower body to the upper body and back again, and leaked energy means less weight lifted. If there was one thing basically everyone could do to instantly improve strength lifting heavy weights in general, I think it would be improving core strength. On the topic of breathing, this is probably the first thing you'll notice when attempting a bear hug carry. It's really tough to breathe. This is another big one. With that sandbag pushed up against your chest, you'll actually strengthen the muscles of your diaphragm, which does a lot of very good things. The diaphragm muscles work alongside the core to stabilize the trunk and spine, again, improving posture. Training these muscles can help with creating intra-abdominal pressure, meaning more potential for a stronger brace, and they can also help improve your ability to take in oxygen, meaning more potential for endurance and likely better performance all around. Just as a quick side note, all of this also makes the bear hug carry over overpowered for improving conditioning directly, giving you extreme endurance alongside everything else. Then there's the upper back and shoulders. If you have any kind of rounded forward shoulder or head posture, the bear hug carry will help fix it. This part surprised me a lot when I first started working with the exercise. I thought my shoulders were in a good spot. I thought my posture was perfect, but the bear hug carry showed me the truth. I had a long way to go. Fixing my posture was probably the single most important thing I've done since the day I started lifting, for both looks and for how I feel. It really doesn't matter how much muscle you have if your posture's messed up. All of this together, improved joint stability and posture, a stronger core and stronger bones, and you get an improved person. I've said this a bunch of times already in other videos, but I can't think of a better way to describe the bear hug carry effect. It leaves you feeling solid on your feet, confident in your positioning in space, like a wrestler on the mat, sure that nothing could ever unbalance you. It's pretty great. For the most part, everything I've discussed thus far will likely be going on behind the scenes, you might say. You'll notice the breathing and maybe you'll get that growing pain feeling, but when you first start working with the bear hug carry, it will likely be the muscles that hold your attention most. As I mentioned at the start of the video, as you progress with the exercise, different weaknesses will show up, and each one will be pushed to its limit every workout until it becomes developed in harmony with everything else, eventually leading to perfect balance. With isolation training, we can shape our bodies into whatever. We could have huge triceps and nothing else if we wanted that for some reason, or at least disproportionately large triceps. We could be all calves and forearms, 100% neck. We could do anything. But bear hug carries are such a fundamental full body movement, a basic primal function. It's like everything in the body gets developed as it should, giving you the perfect proportions needed for maximum strength. It's almost as if they give you the shape a strong body is meant to have. And I say meant lightly. We can be anything, and I don't necessarily think any one physique is better than any other, but the bear hug carry gives you muscle in all the correct places for maximizing strength and functionality. It's the shape I imagine laborers from the past might have had, only because we're using specific training methods, progressive overload and whatnot, will likely end up as larger versions. You might say the bear hug carry builds a body aligned with nature. I'd like to go through a list of common weaknesses and the muscles that will grow most from the exercise, but before that, I think it's important I quickly cover how the bear hug carry even builds muscle in the first place. If you're used to training in the typical way, it might be tough to imagine how it even works. There's no real lifting or lowering of a weight happening, the bag is just held in place and you walk around. Well, the easiest way to explain why it works is to look at barbell deadlifts. They are one of the greatest low back builders of all time. No one will deny that. And yet, at all times during every rep of a deadlift, the low back is stationary. It doesn't move. Rather, it prevents movement. Muscle can grow from stabilizing just as it can from flexing or extending a joint. The bear hug carry works in the same way, and there's also the shifting of the bag to consider. With every step, the bag tries to move on you just a bit, meaning many small adjustments, or reps you might say. If you're not convinced, I'd highly recommend just giving the exercise a try, or just look up pictures of strong men carrying things, look at their backs and arms, and you'll see. So the first thing that usually turns up is a lack of strength maintaining the bear hug position. The hands, forearms, biceps, and chest likely won't be used to doing anything at all like it. It's not something that's typically ever done in a standard gym setting. The pecs must squeeze with everything at all times to keep the bag in place, while the upper arms and forearms contract in a static flexed position, and the hands try to figure out how to keep hold of the thing without anything solid to grab onto. This takes practice and will take time, but once the muscles adapt and get stronger, you will see real gains, for the arms in particular. Most note their arms blow up in size after spending a couple months with the exercise. That's what happened to me. The chest will likely be less extreme for most, but the added strength gains can lead to increased strength with other pec exercises like presses or flies, meaning indirect carryover if you're after a huge chest. Though you could argue that doesn't really fit the image of an old-time worker guy. You'd probably expect more moderate development, but there's no denying that Superman-like chest look is pretty cool. Developing a strong bear hug grip also has so many useful benefits in all areas of life aside from muscle size too. If you can master it, you'll likely be able to carry things of all shapes and sizes, regardless of the grip needed. Stronger hands makes everything easier. The biceps are super underrated as a functional muscle, especially when strengthened in that flexed position like you use during a bear hug carry. They're heavily involved in everything from digging with the shovel and pulling weeds to rowing a boat or carrying someone in your arms. All things I think most would consider worth having the strength to do. Moving on, once that bear hug squeezing strength catches up, it's likely the next weak point will be the core, particularly the lower back. As I mentioned earlier, learning to breathe and brace without ever getting a single moment of rest takes a lot of strength, and once the weights get heavy and you're forced to keep your torso leaned back a bit, the low back enters a state of constant contraction. With time, you should notice those thick, rope-like spinal erectors showing up all along the back, and your abs will become dense and defined. Next, a lifter might notice his upper back always gives out before everything else, and it too will be strengthened. Here is where bear hug carries really shine for muscle growth. Having your arms wrapped all the way around a sandbag, placing your upper back into a fully protracted position, or at least close depending on the size of the bag, holding onto it as it tries to fall to the ground, then adding the impact of every step means the upper back just gets torn apart in the best way. It's like the ultimate weighted stretch exercise, and there's no doubt you will see size gains in the lats, mid-back, traps, and neck too. Eventually, maybe the hamstrings need to play catch-up, then the glutes, and then it's back to the arms and core again. Round and round, the bear hug carry goes, finding weaknesses, strengthening them, moving on to the next, and continuing on until eventually you're left with a strong and yoked body that performs well in any circumstance. What muscles will the bear hug carry build? Basically everything to varying degrees, aside from maybe the triceps. The exercise acts as the ultimate base builder, setting you up for success for whatever might come your way. Last but not least, when and how often should you do bear hug carries? Well, if you're just starting out with sandbags, the easiest thing you can do is add 2 to 3 sets of carries at the end of your lower body days 1 to 2 times per week. This will be enough for you to notice a change. After a few months of this, you should feel much more stable during all of your other lifting exercises, and just when going through life in general. You should also be noticeably more yoked. If you want a more detailed training program that uses the bear hug carry as a main exercise, I've made a few program videos you can check out. I'll have them linked in the description. And if you want to know more about sandbags in general, or if you just want some training motivation, I'll have links to my books there as well. I hope you liked this one. I'm always glad to talk about bear hug carries. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.